starting right off the gate with City Gates, and here to talk about their latest production that's going on now is Thomas Harmon to talk about Picasso at the Lapin Agile by Steve Martin.
Well, thank you, Eva. Thank you, Jan. Thank you, High Drama. Yeah, just really quickly, Citygate Productions. We're a little over 2 years old. We're a 501c3 nonprofit based in Queens, and our mission is to bring theater to Queens as much as we can throughout the different neighborhoods, and more specifically to bring high quality theater that challenge the mind, inspire the heart, and really reflect the amazing, beautiful diversity of our borough. We've had the opportunity to do shows in neighborhoods like Glendale, Maspeth, Astoria, and this is our second time back in Woodside at the Secret Theater there, which is a really beautiful little black box that was resurrected in post-COVID. I guess it was the fall of 2021. I think they opened their doors, and Richard Mazda and his partners there continue to invest in that space. If your listeners have not seen anything at the Secret Theater in Woodside, I highly recommend it. Actually, they have a one-woman show running right now that we've done some cross collaboration with. Our play, as you mentioned, Steve Martin's Picasso at the Lapin Agile opens at the Secret Theater right after that. And this is the last show of our 2023 season. We had right now we run a 2-show season. Our spring show was Alan Ball's 5 Women Wearing the Same Dress, which was a wonderful production that we're very proud of. And like I said, this marks our second time being at the Secret Theater. Last fall we were there with Rabbit Hole, which actually High Drama gave a lovely review of. So we appreciate that.
Steve Martin, if you don't realize, is a huge art connoisseur. I mean, he's big art collector.
Well, and I mean, obviously Steve Martin himself is a genius, and he seems to have this this interest in what it means to be a genius. And so that's really the heart of this play. It's a pure comedy. It's very absurdist. It has fourth wall breaking. It has kind of magical realism elements to it. But the basic premise is, what if Albert Einstein and Pablo Picasso met in 1904 at Picasso's favorite jaunt, the Lapin Agile, right before they both made their transformative contributions to humanity. And so it's really an exploration in what it means to tap into to have a legacy, to be a genius, as we might call them, and even the idea of what is beauty. That could, obviously we think of beauty particularly in aesthetic terms, but here you have Einstein thinking that his work itself is beautiful, working in the world of theoretical physics, and where those things potentially rub up against each other. It's a hilariously fun play, but it has ideas in it like that, and that's one of the things that we think makes a Citygate production.
It's sort of funny, but if you think about it, both art and science both use their genres to make sense of things.
It's true. Actually, one of my favorite lines in the play is, Picasso talking about his, abstract cubist sentiment of art. He says, "For me, the shortest distance between 2 points is never a straight line." And Einstein says, "Me neither." Because again, he's dealing with quantum physics, right? Nothing is in a straight line. So it's that sort of really dense cerebral humor that is there. But then there's also a lot of more physical comedy and things you would expect from Steve Martin, in addition to that, the brilliance of where these two thinkers are overlapping. And even though it's fundamentally about these two characters, it's a big ensemble show. There's 9 characters, 9 actors in the show. It's all these sort of patrons, the people who run the cabaret, the sort of frequent participants who come in and engage with these characters, and a couple of other zany characters that come in for small but very powerful and monumental kind of moments in the show that are brief but stick with you.
there's also an inventor, so you have another aspect of geniusness or different kind of a, you've got the scientist, the artist, and an inventor.
That's right. This character of Schmendeman, who again kind of plays with this idea of legacy, right? Who will history remember and who won't history remember? We remember Picasso and Einstein, but not so much Schmendeman.
It's kind of like what's going on right now with Harmony. That's how they're touting it, because Harmony was the biggest thing of their day, and then the most famous group in the world that's nobody's ever heard of now.
That's a great comparison. I love that.
It's like that people resurrect people that nobody knows about.
Well, and I think that there's an interesting other layer to Picasso at the Lapin Agile of uh, men and women. So it's a very male heavy play. Out of the 9 actors, 7 of them are men. But the 2 female actresses, really play these instrumental roles in terms of, again, kind of their unique perspective on history and what will have long lasting impact and what won't. They tend to be the one character, Jermaine in particular, seems to actually be the most insightful of all the characters in terms of what will actually have value in the long run.
I know. I love historical little things that kind of bring things to life that you didn't know about before. And it's like you with, bringing Queens to life, that people, Queens is a theater destination too.
We think so. I mean, there's great community theater groups. There's some really great regional theater groups, especially out of Long Island City. And that's what we aspire to be as well, to really bring quality stories, well told, particularly with quality acting. That's really what the pieces that we tend to produce with Citygate Productions are, shows that have a lot of meat to them, especially from a character perspective. And we so far we've been very lucky to be able to cast super talented actors in all of our productions that bring this really challenging material to life and really execute it perfectly.
What's the name of the play that's going on right now, and how long is it going on with the solo one?
It's a licensed piece called The Amish Project, and it's by I think a fairly young theater company. They call themselves Between Us Theater Company. It's a one-woman show called The Amish Project. I originally thought maybe it was an original work, but no, it's a licensed play. I think it's been around since like 2009, I want to say, and it's based off of, if you may remember, there was a really horrible shooting at an Amish school in Lancaster County back in 2006.
Yeah.
And so it deals with that incident.
Yeah, I think we've seen it back in the day. But who's the actress playing the part right now?
Name is Annie Kafalis, I believe. We actually just met her recently because we reached out, saying, "Hey, we're both doing shows in the same space right next to each other. Maybe we can collaborate." And so we've been doing some joint social media posts, and we actually did a Zoom interview with Annie during her tech week to kind of help get the word out on her show as well.
So what else was going on with Citygate? Because you mentioned a whole bunch of other things that you're doing besides.
The other piece that we're doing is the thing that we've been doing more of is creating space for original works from Queens-based playwrights. So actually, if there are any playwrights, especially Queens-based playwrights in your audience, feel free to reach out to us. We will be putting together a whole slate of original staged readings, as well as 1 or 2 more full productions of original works in 2024.
Well, thank you for putting Queens on the theatrical map, and also putting on this delightful play, which I saw years ago, and I just remembered it was just so wonderful, because it's like getting your theater with a spoonful of comedic sugar.
Well, thank you, Eva. Thank you, Jan. Thank you, High Drama, for all you do.
And thank you for coming on. So High Drama has gone to the Middle Ages, starting with Playwright Realms, Emma Horowitz's Mary Gets Hers, and the exceptional ensemble have created an astounding achievement. This play, a medieval comic drama, has everything: comedy, pathos, horror, deep contemplations about God and death, and what happens when you get too little or too much love. Poor Mary has become an orphan at 8 as the plague has claimed both her parents. She's left to her own devices until a kindly hermit, Abraham, comes around looking for her father, Otto. Abraham is terrified for the young girl's untainted and pure soul and whisks her away to his monastery, where he makes a cell within a cell for Mary. He consults the overly zealous Ephraim to help him get Mary betrothed to God. Mary is used to having loving parents who kissed the top of her head and said, "I love you" to her and each and other before tucking her in bed. The hermits may look after her by feeding her cereal and sheltering her and singing about God, but they never tell her that they love her. As she gets older, she begins to fidget over the endless routine and runs away. She ends up in an inn with a supposedly kindly innkeeper who gives her a nice room and food, but sends up men to say, "I love you" all the time to her, who don't seem to care how she decorated the room. Abraham is frantic to get Mary back before she becomes tainted by the outside world. He enlists his soldier friend to help him find Mary. Will he find Mary in time? Will she return with him? Will she remain untainted? I just love this play so much. So I say to the playwright and everyone involved in this masterpiece, I love you, and kiss the top of your collective heads. Yushin Chen, who did scenic design, Camilla Deli, who did the costume design, Cha Si did the lighting design, Kathy Ravuna did the sound design, Claire Jensen did the casting, were all so perfect. Haley Wong as Mary has that naive, giddy, girlish quality, no matter how old or what becomes of her. And I last saw Susanna Perkins in The Good John Proctor about the Salem witch trials. And moving back to medieval times with Abraham, she is completely single-minded in keeping Mary untainted and staying betrothed to God. While she takes her mission very seriously, the end result is quite humorous. Even funnier and more single-minded is Octavia Chavez Richmond as Ephraim, who feels that no one loves God as much as he does and wishes that God would speak directly to him. He even wears a hair shirt to show his devotion. Claire Seebeers as the master then has his over-the-top French accent and is quite the practical businessman. Kai Heath as a soldier doesn't like battles very much as they have gotten scarier, but that's his job and his identity. As Mary says when given wine for the first time at 12 years old, wine is not delicious, but it makes you feel delicious. This play is delicious and will surprise you at the end. It opens a floodgate of unexpected emotions. This gets a major happy face. So continuing with medieval times, we now have The Jester's Wife, written and directed by T.J. Eliot.
Not T.S. Eliot, T.J.
Would have been much better if it was T.S.
Yes, and it
This
stars
was B.S. Sorry.
and it stars Xander Johnson as an unnamed character, Steve Weatherby as the jester, and Emma Taylor Miller as his wife. And the play is obliquely about the legend of the Irish Saint Dymphna from the 7th century. Dymphna's mother was a Christian. Her father was a petty pagan king. When her mother died, her father decided that he wanted to marry his daughter because of her resemblance to his late wife. Dymphna had taken a vow of chastity, plus she did not want to marry her dad. So
I wonder why.
Her confessor, Father Gerberus, the jester, and his wife escaped to a town in Belgium called Gilder, and that's where they were tracked down by Dad's troops. Dymphna and her confessor were beheaded, and the play basically picks up at that point where the jester and his wife have gone to ground in a cave to try and escape the troops. The play starts with this unnamed character who comes out and spouts a bunch of Latin and then comes back later and acts all crazy. And the jester and his wife basically scream at each other for 3/4 of the play at top volume. And it really isn't until like the last quarter of the play where they actually start speaking in a conversational tone that it actually becomes worth watching, which is a terrible thing to say, but Eva?
Yeah, I mean, especially I just seen Mary Gets Hers, which was so damn good. And then it's like the woman was such a shrew. It's like, oh, it set women back to medieval times. It was so awful. I mean, how could we like her? She was screaming and screaming and nagging, nagging. If I were the jester, I would just leave this bitch. I'm sorry, but she was horrible. And then but then they decided, oh, I know how we can make money, because they needed to eat. We could go around and do the play of Saint Dimphna. That is when it got interesting, was when they actually made a theatrical event out of it, so that they were distracted. And then the jester finally showed off why he was a jester, and he was funny.
I'm a medievalist. It's what I studied in college. And to hear these people screaming at each other about things like women's equality and survivor guilt and very contemporary themes, it really didn't do it for me. Once they started talking about doing the play, they calmed down. The jester actually did become funny, which he hadn't been up to that point. In the long run, I as much as I hate to say it, this is not a play worth seeing.
No, I was having a hard time. I felt bad. I was in the front row, and I really had a hard time keeping my eyes open. It just got so
How
tedious.
could you have fallen asleep with that volume they were screaming at?
It was so tedious, because it was tedious in one note, and I'm like, enough already. Honest to Pete, I was ready to smack everybody.
Okay.
So, well,
you like the set. The set.
Oh yeah,
you did say you like the set.
Okay, good. Then I can give it a mixed face minus or an unhappy face plus, because I was about to give it just an unhappy face, but you know what? Yeah, I'll do that.
And I like the costumes were good.
The costumes were good.
The costumes showed some elan.
Yeah. And the unnamed actor guy, he was good. I liked Xander Johnson. He was good. I perked up when he came on. So yeah, I can give it a mixed face minus.
Well, I gave it a mixed face.
And now from PlayCo, we have Abhishek Majumdar's 9 Kinds of Silence, which shows the importance and dangers of silence. Mother is debriefing a soldier who she calls son after he served and got injured in a war. Apparently, there are several tens of these women interrogators called mothers who are very good at getting these traumatized soldiers to speak and be ready to go back home and re-entry into society. There was a thin curtain separating them so they couldn't see each other. I have no idea what the point of that was, but then none of this play made sense to me. Mother wanted to be able to give son a ticket to go through the safe door to get back home. If he leaves the way he came in, he'd meet certain death, or if he wouldn't speak, he'd meet certain death. She had a tape that would explain the 9 kinds of silence and how to break through to get the soldiers to speak. The first one is called Sounds of Encouragement. The only thing that seems to matter to both of them is praying. How do people of faith cope with war and playing with life and death? Why is silence so dangerous? Why browbeat someone who has just been defending your country? Will she succeed and save this hero's life? Because the subject matter is so oppressive, it starts to weigh down on me after a while. What I was really impressed by was Hen Ayub's acting. She had to keep up basically a running monologue. Joe Joseph had it harder as he doesn't speak and wears dark glasses, so it is harder for him to convey emotions. While I may respect what Abhishek Majumdar was trying to get across about the politics of war, government, and religion, it just didn't grab me. I always thought silence is golden, but here it is just leaden. Mixed face plus. Sasha, Clarke, and I went to see 20 Seconds. So I'm going to give you her review because mine you can read on the Facebook page. And basically we agree. So we both love this play. So how long does it take to heal your emotional wounds? 20 seconds and a lifetime is the short answer. The longer answer is something that Thomas Schweitzer explores in his autobiographical play 20 Seconds, currently running at the Signature Center. Tom introduces us to his home in Altoona, Pennsylvania, and his life with his mother and father. His father is an alcoholic, OCD, paranoid schizophrenic. His long-suffering mom and protector self-medicates with food, lots of it grilled or dripping in fat, which Tom also adopts. His parents fight a lot, and Tom has a rather isolated and lonely existence. Mr. Schweitzer plays all 14 roles in this play with aplomb, introducing us to the colorful characters that populate his childhood. Miss Ruth, the kindly woman at the local motel, the kids who tease him at school, among others. Then we meet our Dean Grissinger, the Sunday school teacher who welcomes him to church when he runs out of his house to escape his parents' fighting. The church we had only seen from his window. Erdine takes him under her wing and he learns how to play the piano from her. She brought music into his life. It seems he had a lot of natural talent as he soon becomes involved in all aspects of music at the church, playing for Sunday services and singing solos, all at a very young age. As the story unfolds, there are more and more songs and pieces of music introduced, some of which are his original composition. His father was barely literate, and his mother suffered many medical ailments. Throughout, Tom took refuge in his music and soon acting skills, eventually leading to his enrollment in a special camp for gifted children, and then college. Finally, he discovers music therapy, yes, a real profession. Before the show begins, there is an announcement that there is strong language and difficult topics are addressed. It is a relatively short play, and Mr. Schweitzer keeps the pace flowing. I laughed, I cried, more than a Hallmark movie. They should hand out tissues along with the program. It is a very moving story, and Mr. Schweitzer is open about all that he has experienced. After every show, Mr. Schweitzer takes questions from the audiences. Mr. Schweitzer has created A Place to Be, which is a nonprofit organization offering music therapy in Northern Virginia. He is the subject of a new documentary, Music Got Me Here, which is also being developed into a film. Treat yourself as somebody who needs forgiveness. Go see it. Happy face from her and me. And in the time of Yom Kippur, we all need forgiveness. Last presentation for musicals and Mufti is Golden Rainbow, with a book by Ernest Kenoy and music and lyrics by Walter Mark, who was in the audience. He's still alive. It's a musicalization of Arnold Schulman's play A Hole in the Head from 1968. That's when it's 1968, and Larry Davis is trying to run a failing motel called the Golden Rainbow in Las Vegas with his 11-year-old son, Allie, after his wife and Allie's mom died. He had a contentious custody battle with his wife's sister, Judy, who lives in New York City. Looming over Larry and Allie's head is a $5,000 mortgage that is due, or else Larry loses the motel. Jill, who operates the Jack and Jill Diner, is also going through a rough patch. It's hard to compete with all these fancy hotel casinos. Larry has many schemes to get the money. He's hoping that his childhood mafioso's friend, Carmine Malatesta, who is opening a fancy hotel casino, will be able to help him out by going partners with him over a scheme that he has in mind. If that doesn't work, he's hoping that Judy will dip into Allie's trust and lend him the money. Will Larry finally get a win? Will he lose Allie in the process, as Judy is desperate to take Allie with her back to New York? This is such a heartfelt musical, and what helps enormously is the phenomenally talented Benjamin Paget. Without an appealing kid who can sing, dance, and act up a storm, this would be frightful. Instead, it is delightful. Just like he trumpeted me away in Music Man, I was blown away by his vocal range. This kid is already a star. And Max Van Assen as Larry obviously has a special bond with this kid. I can tell that his heart is in the right place, even with all of his wrong moves. It's a fine line to balance between a skeevy hustler and a devoted Pad. Daniel Lee Graves serves up comfort food and emotions. Mara Davey comes across as a no-nonsense driven career woman, but she obviously loves her nephew and wants him to be raised in a better environment. Robert Cuccioli provides comic relief as this over-the-top wise guy, with Gina Milo by his side as a sexy bimbo type. There's an unexpected tribute to James Bond that will have you rolling in the aisles, thanks to the ensemble of Gillian Louis, Maria Wirth, Philippe Barbosa Bambanato, Jonathan Brody, and Nick Cleary. Just like a hole in the head movie with Frank Sinatra has iconic high hopes, this musical has the classic I've Gotta Be Me, sung to perfection by Max von Essen. Stuart Ross directed this beautifully. This show is golden. Major happy face. It's closed, but Musical and Mufti has tacked on a new musical for New to New York presentation of When We Get There, with a book by Robert P. Young III and Richard Lasser, and that's going on from October 7th to the 15th. So you can still go see wonderful shows at the York. Reappearing at 59 theaters until October 8th is Alan and Pat Harris's Cross That River, which I saw a few years ago. It's about various people finding freedom. Blue, a runaway slave who escapes to become a cowboy in Texas, looking back on his life. Annie Hutchinson, who escaped to her freedom away from an abusive husband, and Apaches who were escaping poverty and poor living conditions on a reservation. Also there at 59 Street is Primary Stages Dig until October 22nd. The Pool Plays 3.0 October 8th to the 28th. At La Mama are some Pushkin stories, one of them Eugene Onegin, Big Trip 1 and Big Trip 2 till October 15th. And the League of Professional Theater Women is having their Gilder Coigney International Theater Award program, Women on Stage and in the Streets panels from October 9th to the 13th. And Droege, who's very funny, is back with Messy White Gaze from October 16th to the 23rd, and On Guard Arts Helen, October 13th to the 29th. At SheNYC, we got Fort Huachuca, a World War II story in rep with Bloodshot, which is a film noir detective mystery, and that's only going on until October 14th. Bite Me is going on until October 22nd. Our next show is October 21st. We'll talk about the excellent Emerging Artist Theater in rep until October 29th. We already talked about Sex Work, Sex Plays. I've got Anne Being Frank, which is brilliant, and Mark has Doris Day, My Secret Love. And Edgar Oliver is back with Riptide from October 14th to 28th, and Jaja African Hair Braid from October 29th.